Join me as you and I you take a journey to become better writers together and geek out. Hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite Written Writ Ralph talking to you straight from our show here, The Written Writ. And of course, tonight we have ourselves some Francis Bonnet and some Fish Lee, and we're going to have some major fun. And of course, on the bottom, we have Tony and Nat, the Writ guys, hanging out and helping us do things. And of course, the first person up is Shen saying hi.
Hey, Shen.
And let's start off with our pal Fish. You are the guest host, so tell the people who you are, what you do, all the good stuff, and of course, let them know about your Kickstarter.
I am Mr. Fish from Mr. Fish Comics. I am the fastest working man in indie comics. I am the writer and creator of Green Zone, Life in the Blocks, and the brand new Caw, the Mighty Caw, the Cro-Magnon, which is on Kickstarter until tomorrow evening. And we're just about to pass the stretch goal, which is going to unlock the source book for Caw as an add-on. I am the writer, the illustrator, the colorist, the letterer, everything but the editor on the book.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Caw.
Man, Caw he's this avian barbarian. He's from a planet, Zion, where everybody evolved from different species of birds. There's owl clan and all raptor clan, all kinds of different bird species. And the most Neanderthalish, the most de-evolved of them all are the massive Cro-Magnons. And they're these big, giant, beefy dudes. You can see them in the image. They're giant hands. They're big. They're strong. They're not known for being super intelligent, but they're not stupid. And they're kept as slaves by the more evolved species on the planet. And they keep their wings bound so they can't fly and keep them docile little servants. And if you're too stupid or too feral to be a good servant, then you get fed to the meat grinder of the avian arenas and you get to fight and die for the entertainment of the masses. And Caw pissed off the wrong person as a fledgling and got kicked into the arena and spent every day for the rest of his life fighting for his survival amongst all kinds of different alien monsters and barbarians and all kinds of stuff. He's had to watch everybody he's ever known and loved in the arena die, and some of them at his hands. He becomes the people's hero. He becomes the deadliest warrior in the galaxy. He accidentally inspires a slave uprising, and when the masters of the planet try and make him bow in front of all the other Crow slaves to, show them, their place in society, they find out that Caw bows to no man and he breaks free and all hell breaks loose. And that's the first 2 pages of the book. And, hilarity and excitement goes on from there.
I gotta say, you sent me a digital version, and I read through it, and it made me have flashbacks of being on Saturday morning cartoons, except that it felt a little R-rated.
It is definitely the more adult of the titles that I have done myself. I usually keep stuff all ages friendly, but I want to make sure that people know there are scenes where people's insides are on the outside, and there are scenes where people's heads are going the wrong way or not on the same side of the room as their body. And, it's probably not for the youngest of my fans. I'm not going to show it to my grandbabies yet, but, give them a year.
Look at the blood on his wings.
Oh yeah. There's on the second page, he is bathed in blood and
he definitely is.
hacked one of his adversaries to pieces. Yeah, he ain't playing. This is the only thing he knows how to do, and he does it really well.
So that's not his blood, I take it.
Some of it. Like you can see the cuts on his arms. Like he's not afraid to take a hit. But that's one thing about the Cro-Magnons. They heal quick and they're strong. So he's not afraid to take a blow.
I gotta admit, it's a lot of fun.
You see the other guy.
You gotta see the other guy, yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a quick read. You weren't kidding.
I kept the book short for a reason. Like I was going to make it twice as long as it is, and that would have going to be a little bit too long. And then I was like, this is a really great cliffhanger. And if I
Yeah.
stop it here, I could get these books out every month to people and get them out at a really affordable price and make it something that I can keep up with easily and get out to you regularly. And that's what I want. And honestly, he was inspired from my buddy Stephen Butler sending me, all the Barbarian stuff he was working on and all these old cartoons that we used to grow up watching. And he sent me a bunch of Flash Gordon serials, and I was watching them, and I laid down for a nap, and this idea hit me, and I jumped up. And 30 days later, I've got the finished book, got a Kickstarter ready to launch, a Patreon launched, a Teespring store, and I illustrated a client's book in that 30 days. But
I keep forgetting how fast you are, Fish.
yeah, I'm not playing. I go quick. Part of it, I have Tourette syndrome, so my brain is wired incorrectly. And, sometimes that sucks. Sometimes I'm in a lot of pain. I spent 15 years in a wheelchair, unable to walk, talk, or see most of the time. But on the bonus side, I'm super creative and I work super fast and get ideas like nobody's business. This idea for Caw has been like a fire hydrant got broke off in my head, and it just keeps coming.
I feel you. That's how I feel sometimes with my writing. So I completely know what you're talking about. Dude, this is amazing. This cover right here. It's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And that was suggested by all of the fans and stuff. I drew Conan, and then they suggested everything after that. And of course, like, I love Thundar and, He-Man and all this stuff. But like, they were like specifically, well, let's do battle damage armor He-Man. And I was like, well, if we're going to do, an obscure He-Man, we got to do an obscure Skeletor. And
That's
then like
true.
Bobby from D&D cartoon and Red Sonja and Grog and Black Star is one of my favorites. Like, I was the only kid in my neighborhood that remembered Black Star, the only one that had picked up one of the toys before they disappeared. And like, I loved him so much.
I had that He-Man figure.
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
battle one that you hit and it would turn the thing and you see the
Yeah,
battle.
Like, it looked like it was damaged, and then you flip the thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
I wish I kept those things. My mom threw them all out on me.
The story of our lives. Mom threw it out.
Thundercats too. She threw my Thundercats away.
Oh,
when my mom told me I gave away that box of broken toys in the garage, I was like, what broken toys? Because my He-Man were all in pieces because I loved it. You could put them together and like make different characters out of them.
That's
in my
true.
mind. And so they were just disassembled. They weren't broken, but she didn't know that. So when we hit
with the Joes,
killed me. When we hit $3,000, the source book gets unlocked as an add-on, which we've still got plenty of time to hit that. We're only like $90 away right now. And the Barbarian poster and as a Virgin variant cover has been unlocked as an add-on. There's sketch covers that you can get. There's even slots in there as add-ons for getting like a single character commission or getting like a full-on pinup or cover drawn. Because people are always wanting to get in on my commission list, but it's very rare that I have openings. So I've specifically scheduled a handful of openings and made it available to people that want that so they can get whatever it is their heart desires. And so hopefully you dig it. I did my first full digital painted cover that I was really proud of, and it was going to be the main cover, but then the more I looked at them, I was like, on a con floor, like standing across the aisle, the white background with just a giant image of Caw is just going to draw more attention. So I switched them and made it the main cover. And
what do you use to draw digitally? Which software are you using?
Clip Studio, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
I love
that. Yeah.
I brag about it so much. I recommend it to everybody. It is such a great piece of software. The new updates to it are amazing. And you can get in usually for like $35-40 when it goes on sale for the basic version. Like, and I made a living off of the basic version for many years. Like, it's got everything you want in it. It's great software, man.
I know some people are using Procreate. I've never used it myself, but I just was curious if you have ever tried it.
The one thing I love about Procreate is it does really good. Like, it looks like the ink is soaking into the paper, and it has such a realistic reaction of like ink on paper. that's amazing. I can't get quite the same quality in Clip Studio, but that's like the one thing it does better. Everything else, like I watch videos on it all the time just to see if I can learn new tips and tricks. And I'm like, man, it takes 5 steps to do something I can do in Clip Studio with one button. And I'm like, man. I mean, it's nice at what it does really well, but Clip Studio does everything better.
Do you
And
use
it
it
has
on
vector layers.
Do you use it on an iPad or like a Cintiq or?
I use it on like an XP Pen tablet over here when I'm working on this computer, and then I have a Microsoft Surface Pro that I draw on, and that once I got that and I can work out of my recliner again, I do most of my work in my recliner now on that tablet, and I love it.
Sounds like the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had to bring this up here because
Yeah.
you know, I love the piece you did here with our pal Scott, you know, and his book Quest. And oh man, you outdid yourself here too. Now I want to see a team up with with both of them.
Oh, absolutely. I've had several people hit me up about wanting to do team ups, and I was like, man, if you can get your character through a wormhole or something, we can make this happen. I can do it. I ain't the least bit hung up about it.
So the thing here is, if you support both books, you know, Scott's Quest and your Call, you get this, right?
Yeah, and you get it full at the digital and the print level. So, like, if you back the physical books on both campaigns, you get a physical print of it, but it doesn't leave out the digital backers. So, if you want to get in for $5 a piece, you can get a high-res digital copy of it too.
That's a good way to go.
Yeah.
You know, of course,
that was really smart. I appreciate him offering that.
Of course, this is our pal Scott Harris's Quest book. You know, look at that beautiful cover. You know, he is at 1,739. He needs to get to 2,900. 78 backers, 16 days to go. Come on, folks, we can get him to 2,900. It's right there. It's right there. Yeah. He's still got 16 days to go. So
he's got plenty of time.
You know, I tell people all the time, you know, either support, dude, you can do $1. $1 helps. Because the more backers you have, the better it is for these Kickstarters.
Oh, yeah, and the better it looks in the algorithm and the better it wants to show it to people. Exactly. And just sharing it makes such a huge difference. Exactly. I know everybody appreciates somebody that's going to share their work. Like, it has meant so much to me to know that there's this giant handful of people that I can count on. They're going to share everything that I put out. And now I try and be that same guy to other people because, you know, it makes such a difference.
That's what I spend my day doing, is sharing. Yeah, because you know, doing Kickstarters is not easy. I tell people all the time, nobody's making money off of Kickstarter. They're just putting their passion into it so they can make another book. So they're putting the money right back into it.
And for me, like, this is all I can do right now. Like, it takes everything I have to do all the pitching and be on all the shows and make all the posts. And like, in the time it took to set up, plan, launch, and run this Kickstarter and do all these shows and pitching, I could have got the next 2 issues of Caw made.
That's
so
true.
Like, it takes a lot out of us. So like, absolutely, please back, share, let people know that you care. It means the world.
It's hard to be a creator and also basically like your salesperson.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't just get to do the one job. If I just got to make comics, I could put out so many books a year if I didn't have to pitch them and do social media and come up with TikTok ideas and make videos. And I'm not built for all that.
I don't even bother. I can't do it.
I'm not easy. It's a hard job.
Yeah,
especially
that's the least fun.
Things. What'd you say, Tony?
No, it's you got to work to it, and not all artists are salespeople, you know. So.
Oh yeah, not everybody can get on camera and be like, "Hey, it's your Uncle Fish. I love you." Not everybody can do that, and I can, so I take advantage of it. But like, it's tiring. It's a whole nother job just trying to get TikToks and Facebook posts and all these things made and out,
Dude,
and do an art stream twice a week.
I give
And
you credit,
Wow.
bro, because I've seen your shows, and just me being written Rit Ralph is a lot of energy. And I usually finish the show and I go, I'm going to bed.
oh man,
And I watch you and I watch your show and I'm like, damn, how does he keep it up?
and then I'm going right back to work again because I can't stop because I got to keep working until bedtime to get more books out.
Oh,
And like I planned my art streams in the morning because it works best around my Tourette's, and I know I'm not going to be super ticky or like have trouble speaking or anything. And then I get on something like this late at night, and the excitement kicks in, and then I'm fine. I'm gonna be a mess when this show's over. But like once my art stream's over in the morning, I am so zonked. I just want to go to bed and
dude,
crash.
I've seen your show. I can imagine that you're zonked. I told you before. I feel like it's Bob Ross with a lot of energy.
And I tell so many ridiculous stories. Oh my god. And the voices, it's so embarrassing, but it's fun and it's cathartic. And one time, one of my buddies, Kyron, he got us off on a spiral about daylight savings time. I got like a blob drawn, and that was it. We spent the rest of the time on a soapbox talking about everything from institutionalized racism to sexism to like the government trying to get you to look over here so you're not paying attention to what we're doing over here. And we just ranted on this cathartic rant for like an hour and a half. Didn't get any drawing done, but it was a hell of a show.
That's funny. Jordan Hagar saying, "Hey, yeah," and of course, Gage the Wolf is saying the truth. The truth. Social media can get exhausting, and marketing is the hardest part of being a creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of artists, a lot of us, we're antisocial. We just want to sit down, create, and don't talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
I understand.
No,
It's so funny, like how they made like Jim Lee, like president of DC. Like Jim Lee's a lot of things. He's not a, like Dan Didio's a salesman. Joe Quesada's a salesman. All these people are a salesman. Jim Lee's not a salesman. Like he'll be in meetings. They say he's at meetings. He'll sit there and just be drawing and stuff. Say, yeah, okay, that sounds good. It's so it's so weird, man. I don't know.
I pay so much better attention when I'm doodling and drawing.
Yeah,
well, that's really like with artists and writers, like the name, but you don't always know the face. Like, oh, I recognize that person's name, but like unless you're like Stan Lee or somebody super famous, you're not gonna know what they look like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Stan Lee was a ham. If he wasn't a ham, we wouldn't know his face and name either. Like he was out there hustling it, we're all having to do now on social media.
Yeah,
like I would just assume nobody know who I am.
Stan Lee knew the hustle, man.
I would just assume they confuse me with all the other Fish Lees in the world that are all a bunch of little Korean girls. It would be fine if nobody had any idea who I was, and I could just make awesome books all day. But it's not the world I live in now. So.
Oh man! So Francis, it's your turn. Give us the spiel. Tell them who you are.
All right. So I'm Francis Bonnet. I created this Suburban Fairy Tales about fairy tale characters living in modern suburbia.
I'll put you up.
I've done 8 books in the series. This is the 8th one I'm holding here, the newest one. When I first started doing it, it's like 16, 17 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was about it's very different from so it follows like a comic strip format. Sometimes the storylines that run through, but it's all ages. I like writing humor. That's why I fit in well with Archie. That goofy, all ages, funny. Sometimes like those dumb dad jokes, or sometimes I love watching people's eyes roll. Like when I make a joke, in person and in the comic, I just picture somebody's like going like this, like, oh my God. Yeah. So like, this is just one of the things I do. I do Archie as well. Here's just, this is a new one. Just got it. Archie Modern Classics Mania. I have stories in here with other people, but this just collects a bunch of this. You can tell I'm not a good salesperson. I work, so like if I'm rambling, just stop me. I have a couple other
rambling. It's good rambling. Dude, that looks like the digest that I used to pick up in the supermarkets.
Yeah, you know what's cool is like I know we were talking about this before the show went live, but like I used to read Archie as a kid. I still read it now, but I'd go to the comic book store, pick up Betty and Veronica, Archie, Jughead, and it's just really cool knowing that like now I'm doing that. Like as a kid, you like look in this, you're like, oh, who's this? I wish I could do something like this, and now I'm doing it. Like I'm living the dream. And it's just amazing, I still like sometimes have to pinch myself like, oh, I'm actually doing this. My wife and I, we went to London. This was right before the pandemic hit. It was like February 2020, and it was like, okay, we're in London, let's go visit some comic book stores while we're here. So went to like a bunch of comic book stores, and I saw like some of my work there, and it's just amazing to know that like not only is my stuff here, but it's across the pond, as they say. So it's just really cool,
It's totally cool, and it has to be like a, especially Archie. It's such a classic book, and it's been around for a long time. It has to be like a thrill that you're writing Archie.
Yeah, like my dream had always been, I always wanted a syndicated comic strip ever since I was a kid. I used to, read Peanuts, Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes. Those were all my favorites. But like the newspaper market is, not basically non-existent these days. So all those comics are now on the internet, Instagram, social, other social media.
I've noticed that. Yeah, I've actually. I was talking to the guy who does Ralph the Destroyer, and I saw that he's pretty much on the internet, and that's where he puts up his stuff. But it's still comic strips.
Yeah, like that's the new place to read and discover comic strips now is online. What kids opening up a newspaper? They even know what a newspaper is.
Have you seen a newspaper lately? It's like that.
I know. And when I read a newspaper, it's on my iPad, so I'm not even reading a physical newspaper anymore.
Exactly.
But so like my dream had to change. So I do it online, and I do write for some syndicated comic strips, more like ghostwriting. Like I provide the gags.
Right.
I get paid, but you don't get credit for it. But it's fine. I enjoy it. I have a great time, and it's just you're in the industry. You're making money, and that's important too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What I do have to say is, I think you should hit up our friends at A Kid in a Comic and see, because I know that he said he was still looking for people for his project here, which is a nice newspaper with a bunch of comic strips in it and a bunch of stuff that the kids can play around with. And I know Fish has worked on this.
Oh yeah, there's a really good strip right in the middle of it. Capital Punishment's War Stories, great strip, drawn by an incredible young artist, handsome as all get out from what I hear. Talented dude, working on so many things at one time. I don't know how he does it. He's some kind of special.
He must have a clone.
He must have. Boy, if I had a Fish of my own, you know how many books I would get done. Whoo! Man, and I get stuff done around the house too at the same time. My wife wouldn't be near so mad at me. Man, I am so envious of you getting to work on Archie, dude. That is like, that is the one official fan club I ever joined, was the Archie fan club. And I was so excited when I got like that multicolored pin and my little stick pin from a shirt. And, oh, dude, I was so excited. I freaking loved Archie. Man, I love Jughead, dude.
Like when I first started doing Archie, so it took a while for them to give me a chance. So I had a friend who he still works there. He was working there. He's doing editing and production. I was like, oh, are they looking for anybody? It's like, I'll ask, but it's always no, we're not looking for anybody. And one day they decided to give me a try doing cover gags. So basically, like you sketch out like one of these. This isn't even my idea, this one here, but it's like you sketch out an idea and then they send it to the real artist who then pencils it in. But they'll pay you for the idea. You don't get credit or anything. So it's like, yeah, whatever they want me to do. So they started doing that. And then, they like my ideas and they're like, all right, we'll give you a story. And I remember when he's like, oh, this is how much they're going to pay you. Are you okay with that? Like, this is the rate. And then I was like, on cloud 9 at that time, like doing art stuff. And I was thinking like at the time, like, oh, that's right, I'm going to get paid for this too. So like I would have done it for free. I hope they're not listening. I would have done it for free.
That's the passion right there.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you get money for this. But I was like, yeah, it was just, and now like I've been doing it for 7-8 years, I think. And it's great. Like every time I get to do a new story, and like I've been doing like one of the news stories I'm working on now is going to have the Crusaders in it. I've never written a Crusader story.
Nice.
So that's going to be really cool. I just did this Archie Super Teens. Did that come out yet? Oh yeah, this is this issue. It's the Super Teens issue. So I'll show you the first page there. And so what I actually did for this one was I went back and looked at some of the old Super Teens issues from like the 60s.
Right.
And I pulled out some of the villains that they used. This one here is like the consumer. You can see on the first page, and then I have the Bloodshot Eye, and the other one later on who makes an appearance.
Yeah, so, my buddy Steven's been working on some of those, and I've been so excited to watch vicariously through him as he's getting to work on these awesome properties. Oh man, so cool, so jealous.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm loving it, and this work's fairly consistent, so can't complain there. They seem to like my work, and everything's going well.
The more I read your strips, the more I'm like, why isn't this in the newspapers?
Well, it's actually funny. Like, the reason, probably the biggest reason why, is because the newspaper market is, is non-existent.
Why aren't there newspapers anymore?
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. This is like, I'll tell you this story. So, years ago, like just like everybody else, I'd submit to all the syndicates, and sometimes you'd get, most of the times you get rejection letters, but there were a few editors who'd reach back and, we like this, maybe change this and resubmit.
Right.
So then one of the editors, I'm not going to say who, but just because I don't want to, it's not that it's bad, but I'm not going to say who, but one of the editors came back to me and they said, we really like this. I'm going to show this around and I'm going to get back to you. So here I am thinking like, oh my God, this might be my big break. I might get syndicated. I'm going to be in, all these newspapers. So, I wait a week and then, I get an answer back from the editor and they said, yeah, we showed it around and our salespeople don't think that the newspapers, as much as the editor liked it, comics editor wanted to run with it, they didn't think, the salespeople were nervous that the newspapers weren't going to buy it. So I was like devastated.
Wow.
Because I was like, this close.
That's like a double-edged sword right there. It's like, we like it.
We like it, but the newspaper and basically they said the newspaper market sucks. They're not buying any new comics, like nothing. And you got to think about this too. Like, so let's just say they buy my comic, right? What do you think, they're going to get rid of Garfield for me? Like there's only so much space that they have. So they're not going to get rid of Garfield. They're not going to get rid of Peanuts reruns. As much as I love Peanuts, favorite comic strip of all time, I don't know why they have reruns when they could have something new in there. I have the collection, it's time, I think, remove Peanuts, make room for some new people.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion,
Yeah,
I mean, I think Peanuts, that's what inspired me. That's my number one comic strip. I love it. And I think, everyone should read it. But you've been putting, Charles Schultz, he passed away 23 years ago. 23.
That long already? Wow.
Yeah, 2000. Peanuts ran new comic strips for 50 years. Once if you're not making new Peanuts comics, that space could be used for new comics. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny though, because the newspapers, like a while back, and I know you all remember this. There was this huge comic section. Sometimes it was 2 pages, and then they started cutting back and cutting back and cutting back, and I was like, this
shrinking it smaller and smaller.
Exactly. Oh, and then he started separating it and hiding it in the newspaper. I'm like, dude, this is the reason people buy your newspaper. What are
this is the only reason I was picking it up. It was the only reason. I didn't care about weather. I don't care about sports.
4 pages to like 2, and then it was like 1. It was just, Yeah, it used to be.
And then it's sprinkled across 4 and like the top at the back of the classifieds and stuff.
And then they shrink it down smaller and smaller.
yeah.
So yeah, when you're reading them now, they need to come with a magnifying glass so you can kind of look at.
If you ever see like the ones from like the 1920s, man, they were like huge, man. They were like
Little Nemo, like huge, like full page. Like that's Bill Watterson would fight for getting Calvin and Hobbes back in the 90s to get that large, almost like half a page. And I know the editors but he was Bill Watterson. That was Calvin and Hobbes. He could do that. You know, there hasn't been a comic strip like Calvin and Hobbes since Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. And it's funny to me because it's still, you know, the Sunday's papers are still always wrapped in the funny still. So it tells you something. Is if people are still getting the newspaper, especially the Sunday paper, for the color funnies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the newspaper industry itself is where it is, but at the same time, getting rid of your comic strips is not the way to get more people to read your stuff.
I think, you know, it's just nobody's reading newspapers anymore, and that's part of the thing. It's like they have to cut where they can cut. Like you said, newspapers are shrinking, so the comic section is shrinking. Sometimes, you know, like they'll buy comics that they don't even use. You know, they'll have the rights and they just don't have the space for it, or they put it on their online edition. They just don't have it in print.
And it's funny because I feel like newspapers and magazines kind of missed the boat. Instead of doing a published component with a online component from the get-go, they kept just publishing, going, oh, that online stuff, that's not gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen over there. You know, and I feel like if they would have done that from the beginning, especially because I used to collect a lot of video game magazines, and I feel like those especially having an online and a published component would work so well because, you know, it just yells, you know, because that's what we used to do when we used to play video games. We used to buy those big things, the manuals, and
dude, man, like I used to buy Japanese video game magazines. I can't even read them, but those magazines, they make our magazines look like crap, man.
Yeah.
They're just they're like 5 pages of fan art for no reason.
Exactly.
It's just like, you don't even have to read it. It's like, oh my god.
Just think like how many copies manga sells compared to
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, like in the millions. That's millions of copies.
They're still making
and
magazines.
it's black and white.
Yeah.
And we struggle to sell black and white here, which drives me nuts. I spent my whole life trying to master how to do black and white because I wanted to do indie comics, and they were all black and white and grayscale and zipatone. And I'm mastering all these skills, and then by the time I get to make them, everybody's like, "Oh, if it's not color, I'm not buying it," and just walks by at the con. I was like, okay, I got to teach myself color theory. Let's do this.
It kind of bugs me out because, you know, a lot of people, especially with the Ninja Turtles, they forget that the Ninja Turtles started all out in black and white.
Dude, that's the Ninja Turtles I fell in love with.
Exactly.
You know? And
the
that's
hardcore.
all the weird stuff happened in the black and white indie comics. You know, that's where Judge Dredd and Grendel and all these things came from, and I freaking loved it out there because that's where the weirdness was. That's where I wanted to work, and now I get to work there. It's just in color now, which, you know, is fine. It's just not as cool as black and white to me.
Yeah, black and white gives you a certain feel, you know, especially if you're doing gritty or if you're doing noir. You know, it gives you that feel. You know, I feel like color takes a little bit away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the worst is when the comic was made in black and white and then they color it later.
Oh yeah.
Well, because when you're working in black and white, it's like that's what you're working with. A lot of times your blacks are meant to represent colors. You know, like you know, I remember like Donald Duck, like he would have like the black suit but that's because the strips were in black and white, and then whenever they colored him, his suit still says, you know, black, but it's like there's no need for it. You know, it's weird. You know, it's like when they used to take black and white. When black and white, like television shows or movies, and they put them in color, it looks weird.
Colorized, yeah.
Because it looks weird because even if it looks realistic, it's still tricky because they're applying color theory, there's something that was working with blacks and grays.
And I didn't even realize how much color they put in those backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like the Addams Family house had like pink carpets and bright green and all kinds of weird colors so that it showed up good in black and white.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing when you're working with that limited palette. Like you put so much effort in to get it to look right in just black and white that when they come in and throw colors everywhere, like it can really mess up the look of it and muddy things up.
It's not what the artists originally envisioned or wasn't the intention. It's kind of like if you ever watch like episodes of Seinfeld now and they zoom in, so they're cropping like, you know, or any old TV show. I was watching The Jeffersons right before this for whatever reason it was on TV, and they crop in, and then like George Jefferson's head, like it's like cropped right at his eyes. You can tell like that was meant to be letterbox. It's not meant to be widescreen. So let's zoom back out and give me the bars on the side.
I completely agree. Like I every once in a while when I'm watching Barney Miller, they do this weird zoom in version of it, and I'm like, why are we doing this? I've seen you guys do the regular version, and that looks so much better. Oh no, but this is how it used to look like on TV. I don't care what it used to look like on TV. You guys were doing it fine. Don't give me this pulled in version.
And you really notice that like when they've zoomed in and then a character moves across screen and you get that really weird digital pan across the screen to follow them, when they used to be zoomed out and you just saw the character walking around the room.
Exactly, yeah.
But that seems boring to the modern audience, so we got to zoom in on the character and then get that weird transition.
Well, they did that with when The Simpsons showed up on Disney Plus. They were zoomed in at first, and the fans they complained like, we don't want this, and it took them a while, but they eventually released. Like you can now pick what you want. You want it zoomed in, or do you want it the way it was originally aired for the old episodes of The Simpsons? Because when you zoom in, like there's a lot of jokes and like little things that be in the background that you didn't see them anymore. They were cropped out because of the way that they were framed.
So many little gags that happen in the background.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just so many
and
that
you miss out when they do that pull-in stuff. I miss the cameras, the way they used to record sitcoms and TV shows, because there was so much detail on the screen. Now it's like all about these close-ups, and I'm like, and it's the same thing with comics. It gets kind of weird when you're like, come on, just make it simple. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like as the artist, it's like you're the director. You're like you're composing the page and in a certain way, and you're putting the art in a certain way, the color a certain way, and this is how you want it to look. And when it gets colored later on or changed later on, that's not how you envisioned it, and you can always tell it's off.
Yeah, completely. That's why, like, especially like. I feel like the more you're limited, the more creative you get. And then, if you take those old movies and those old shows and you try to give them all the stuff that you have now, it kind of takes away from it, because the reason those shows were good is because they were so limited that they had to get really creative.
Oh yeah, like the whole bottle episode thing, like having to stick to this one location and make this story work because we're out of money and we can't do anything else. Like that's led to some really creative ideas.
Exactly.
And I love it. I love that challenge of it. Like I've worked on some crazy projects where they just like opened it up on Kickstarter to anybody pays $50 can put whatever they want in the book. And now I got to draw this book with all of this crazy stuff shoved in and try and make it seem cool. And you got all these like regal aliens coming from outer space and all these really awesome warriors. And then we got attack rabbits from Monty Python. And I'm like, all right, we're going to make this as cool as I can possibly make this. And, and the challenge led to some cool stuff. That book has some of the coolest scenes I've drawn in it, and it's got some of the weirdest at the same time.
Sounds like Ralph and his board over there. We just threw stuff on it.
we did this whole story where I had the audience throw a bunch of stuff at us, and we ended up with some really strange stuff back here. And they still want to kill the corgi off, so...
Oh, you can't kill the corgi. Don't tell my wife. She'll cry.
The audience ran with it, so the corgi became this integral part of the story and this heroic figure. And they're like, kill the corgi!
Yeah, the more we want to kill him, the bigger role he gets.
I think they're listening to you because every time you do something, I get a little message going, "So Ralph, I think this is what you should do."
I gotta start doing reverse. It's like it was like that poll. All the anti-Luigi just got people to vote for Luigi. I need to start using reverse psychology.
Oh yeah, that completely worked against you. We were doing this thing with Game of Tunes where he has these characters fight each other, and then at the end he makes the pin of who wins. And Tony there decided that he was going to go on this whole anti-Luigi. Oh my God! And the more he did it, the more Luigi got.
Yeah.
So would anti-Luigi be Waluigi?
Ooh.
Yeah. He'd be John Leguizamo, I think. Where's the diversity?
Oh man, Francis, we've known you for a long time now. Like I found the picture and I posted it up on Instagram, and I didn't realize we met you like in 2014.
Yeah, was that Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con?
Yep, that was New York Comic-Con.
Yeah,
I think you were across the guy we were working for at the time. And like we got to talk to you like near the end, and that's why you can see people pulling down your stuff.
Oh. Yeah, like 2014. Like I was still. I think that might have been one of my first conventions because I think I started around 2012, 2013. Started doing conventions. I've been doing the comic for longer, but that was like my first time where I was like, I'm going to go to one of these conventions. I'm going to try to sell my books in person and see how I do. And I decided, let me start with New York Comic-Con, like the biggest convention.
This will be easy.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm going to start with New York Comic-Con. I'm like, whoa.
Well, I didn't know what I was doing, so but it helped. After that, like when people ask me, they'll come up to the table now, like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm like, don't start with New York Comic-Con. Don't do what I did.
If I can teach you anything,
yes,
don't do that.
Start with a smaller show.
God.
People always
the mistakes I've made have made the best lessons for other people.
Exactly. People always ask us, I'm thinking of doing conventions. I'm going to go to New York. No, don't start with New York Comic-Con.
No.
You're going to be overwhelmed if you start with New York Comic-Con.
Yeah,
you got to lose money if you're doing New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, I don't care how many years we've done it. It still overwhelms us. So I can just imagine a new person going to New York Comic-Con as their first convention. Some people say they did it and they were fine, but it's overwhelming.
Man, get your feet wet at some place with a $50 table cost or something, or a free table, like before you go do that. Like, find out if this is for you, because some people don't have the pitch man in them.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know I had it in me until I was at a convention and everybody was walking by and ignoring me, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Hey, you look like somebody who needs a caricature," and and then just started getting all these gags and jokes. And I'm lucky that I can also draw caricatures while I'm there. I'll make as much money doing that as I do selling comics. But once I get you in, I can start pitching to you for longer. And go ahead, man.
When you're at the shows, you can also look around. This is what I did. My first one. I'm looking around what other people, around me. How's their table set up, right? How are they approaching, potential customers or readers? So I remember and this is my first convention at New York Comic-Con. I remember looking down. There was, a couple booths down, and there were two guys. I don't know what they were selling. It was a book, and this is how they were. I don't know. They were like this, like the whole time.
I know those guys,
and nobody would come to the table. So I'm like, all right, so don't do that.
Exactly.
So then I look over to my right. I'm like, oh, this person's like engaging. They're like saying, oh, come on over. They're talking to people. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do what that guy's doing because there's people coming over to that guy. So, you look around, you see like, oh, people are handing out, like some people are handing out postcards or business cards. They have little things at the table, like giveaways.
Yeah.
So as you're there, I would advise somebody who's first starting, I'm like, just go to a convention, but not as just a fan there to buy stuff.
Exactly.
Just go look around at what the other tables do, what the other artists and writers are doing. Ask them questions because most of them are going to be friendly and going to want to talk to you and they're going to give you advice. That's what I did. I should have waited. I did that while I was there. I probably should have waited. But I'm saying just do that first. And then, then take that knowledge with you and then get a table at a smaller show.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely,
very
and
good advice.
everybody loves to talk about the stuff they've learned and the mistakes they made and how they got to this setup and why it works for them. And like one of my proudest moments wasn't even at a Comic-Con, but it was at a Tourette's summer camp. And like I go to some Tourette's conventions and stuff too, and pitch my book T-Man and Hyperstrike, and because it was purely aimed at inspiring kids with Tourette's.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there with my comic book and posters, and the lady sitting next to me used to be the director of the camp, and she wrote a children's book about Tourette's, basically explaining it to other people. And she sat behind her desk with her arms folded, waiting for all the sales to come. She didn't make a sale all day long.
Wow.
And the first day, every kid that came through, I was like, "Hey, do you like comic books? Because I got a comic book right here." And I'd explain it to them and tell them what it's about, and tell them about the characters. And I had like a short pitch. And then if you stick for that, I've got a little bit longer. And if you're still there, then I go for the full on, and I got a sale guaranteed. And she's sitting there watching me rake in like $400 that day or something, in this little gift shop at the camp. And she goes off to the hotel. She comes back the next day. She's standing in front of the table. She's got a whole pitch worked up.
Wow.
And I was like, she never even spoke to me, wouldn't acknowledge me because she was better than me somehow. But the fact that she learned from me and took it and processed it and used it, I was proud of. And she
put an
made
invoice
sales
on the table. Here's the invoice.
These lessons don't come free, baby.
But that's the whole reason we do this show is because I realized besides the fact that during the pandemic, half my friends were like, "Ralph, I got all this art and I don't know what to do with it." But the whole, it's that concept. When we go to the cons, we have these great conversations across the table, and it's always so much fun, and the conversations are wild, and they go to so many places. And I'm like, I want a show where we're talking across the table, where we're having fun, where you get the nitty gritty of the comic scene or the convention scene or everything, because all these conventions you find totally different things in each one of them, but the thing that's always the same is that talk across the table, and some people do it good and some people do it bad. Like you guys were saying, there's times where I'll go up to a table, I'm like, well, I like what you have, and I start doing my pitch, and I'm like waiting to see, and I'm like, tell me what you got, what's your pitch? And they're like, well, you see, this book here is, and I'm like, okay.
You have 3 seconds. Go.
Like, I make a point to buy every indie comic that I can find at a show, just to be supportive, if nothing else. Even if I don't really think I'm going to like it, I will buy a copy just because I want to support you doing what you're doing. Except for that rare occasion where I come up to somebody and I'm like, "So, tell me about your book." And they like look at you, and then they go back to their phone, or they go back to doodling
the other thing.
pad, and they're not working on a commission. They're not like, they're not too big. They just don't want to talk. And I'll stand there for a few minutes, but if you don't want to sell me your book, I will leave without it. Like, I want to buy it, but if you're not going to sell it to me, I will go without. Like, it just the way it is. But at the same time, I have made some of the best friends at cons. Like just being in the trenches next to each other time after time and having to depend on each other or ask each other for help on something, or oh, my banner wall fell down, can you help me? Like, it just makes friends for life. And like, I'll be walking through Target with my lovely new wife, and then like this 20-something-year-old girl comes running up and hugs me and tells me how much she loves me and goes on. And my wife's like, "Who the hell was that?" And I was like, we have been to like 13 cons together. Like, she's like my little sister. I love her to death. And, I wish she'd wear more clothes when she cosplay, but that's not my business. Like, I'm too much of a dad in that respect. But, we're like best buddies, and there's like a 20-year age difference, but I love her. She's great. I would do anything for her because, we've had each other's backs all this time.
And that's how it is at the conventions. I love that. It's amazing. We got Son of Saint on the side saying, "Good evening, gents." Pete Vasquez from Fat Guy Inc. is saying, "My whole table setup today has been a 9-year work in progress."
Indeed.
And he goes, "Come on, Raph, tell him who the best talker is at the cons. Come on." Pete does a fantastic job of selling. I love coming up to his table and going, "All right, go, Pete. Do it. Son of Sin goes, people need to learn how to engage. Completely agree.
Yeah.
That gentleman is correct. I've made some great friends at cons. And Pete, the last thing Pete says here is, I missed the pre-COVID cons. I was like doing 40 plus a year. Yeah, Pete was everywhere for a long time.
That's draining, 40 a year.
Oh, you're not kidding. Dude,
oh man. I bought a brand new car, like fuel efficient, that I could just fit myself and all my gear in, and got a whole new setup, and everything was ready, and brand new banners. And then frickin' 2020 just locked everything down.
Exactly.
And man, I was gonna hit every con within a 2 days drive, and nope. And all of a sudden that was over with.
Remember that they waited a while before they canceled New York Comic Con. I know they canceled San Diego. And then I was like, well, they're going to cancel New York Comic Con, right? Because I know I had gotten a table for it, and they didn't let people know till like 2 months.
Yeah.
Like I think it might have been less than
it
2
was like very last minute by the time that they said, yeah, we're not doing it. And every other con in the state was like, we're not doing it this year. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
I get
Comic-Con
hoping
like
that
one of
it
the
was
last
going to
cons
get
to
better,
close
but
up. You
people
saying
would have had to. I said, I get waiting, hoping it was going to get better, and everybody was going to like follow the rules, and we were going to get past the. But nobody's going to follow the rules. We've realized we're too stupid.
Them.
Yeah, dude. The last one, what is it? Well, the recent one, nobody wanted to wear their masks, and the poor guys were like telling people, "Wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask."
I think they were pretty good. Free masks and sit here, and they still wouldn't put them on.
They were giving away free masks with characters on.
This past year that I remember 2021 because they only actually missed 1 year of New York Comic Con. They missed 2020.
Yeah.
Right. In 2021, they had like the mask police going around. You know, I think they were the yellow shirt guys, and they were like, "Put your mask on, put your mask on." It looked like most people were like. I want to say like
for that one, yeah, I agree with you. For that one,
yeah, more people were.
Nah. Sunday New York Comic Con, nobody was wearing a mask.
No, he's talking about 2021.
2021, not the
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the year that I'm talking about.
I don't know what you were watching.
Yeah, because 2022, nobody was wearing.
Nobody was wearing 2022.
It's like forget it, it's over. But it's so weird too. It's like. They tell you like you don't need it for the trains anymore, but then you need it at the convention. It was so weird. We're just hearing different things at the time. 2021 was more like streamlined. There was wear your mask everywhere, you know.
Exactly.
That was a huge. I think it was a huge surge going on then, right? Or was I wrong on that?
During 20, it was surprised. They were people were nervous. False reports would happen. That's what happened with Anime NYC, where they thought they got it at Anime NYC, but they got it somewhere else.
Yeah, they got it because they went at a karaoke bar. They traded
exactly.
I remember 2021. And I was wearing my mask, and I was nervous about COVID and everything. And I'm looking around. I'm like, there's like tens of thousands of people in here. I bet you at least one of them has COVID, if not more.
I have to admit, because they were so stringent with the rules, I haven't gotten con crud in a while. That says a lot. Because con crud is a real thing. And that's when people tell me, oh, COVID's not real. No. I've been to conventions. You get con crud because people are nasty.
It's amazing what happens when you just get people to wash their hands, right?
Yeah. Keep a bottle of Purell right at your table.
Exactly.
That didn't fix it for me. I was still getting it every year. And then like one of our local cons opened up and was going to give me a free table. And I was like, okay, yes, absolutely. I'll be there. I'm going to mask up. I'm going to Purell up. And then I got a notification from a friend of mine that she had just exposed me to COVID. And I just realized I had just gone to see my newborn grandbaby. I had gone on my first date with my lovely wife and gave her a kiss at the car. And now I've got to call her and tell her I might have exposed her. I'm never going to talk to her again. Luckily, she gave me a second date. I got to go tell my daughter-in-law that I just kissed on my grandbaby. And luckily, it was negative. But I was like, nah, screw that. I get con crud every year. I'm not going to this con this year. I'm going to wait till it gets a little bit.
That's what happened with Anime NYC. Like they were telling all of us, go get tested.
At CradleCon last year, at CradleCon last year, 2022, I did get COVID from
Whoa.
CradleCon.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was a big scare, and I missed that con.
Yeah.
I missed that con.
And my wife, I gave it to my wife, who was pregnant at the
Ooh.
time.
Ouch.
She's still mad at me for that.
My wife works in the public, and I gave her COVID eventually.
That's even worse.
She's an optician. She's right in people's faces with the glasses all day long, all through COVID the whole time as an essential worker. And I'm the one that ended up giving her
Wow.
Oh, that makes you feel like a heel.
Let's see what the guys are doing now. Pete says he'll do his elevator pitch right now. Son of Saint says, I've been in the trenches with Pete. 40 plus was everything. 7 people to a hotel room. The trap house. Wow. The couldn't straight up cancel cons until the government told them to. Yeah, that was true. Yeah. NYCC wasn't them. They were waiting for the New York stat. That's true. 2021 was a hard mask mandate, and 2022 it was a suggestion. I completely agree. Get it straight, guys. The Repop had made a mandate, and New York State had its own mandate. I remember that too.
Yeah, it's always
there was a lot of craziness happening, and then he's saying that the Anime NYC guy was from Minnesota. He was. That's all the information right there.
All right, that answers.
Wouldn't you hate to be that guy? To be labeled as like, oh, you're the one that gave everybody COVID. Oh, yeah, I would give up right there.
They had turned that around. He went back to Minnesota, and they were saying, oh, you got it in New York.
I got so many alerts. It was like, you've been identified as a New York Anime NYC attendee. What?
Yeah, I love how, like, out of the entirety of everyone at the con, only 12 people got COVID, and they were all from the same group.
Exactly. Yeah. That means they got it somewhere else, and that's what I was telling people. That means they got it from somewhere.
I had a mask on the whole time. The only time I took it off was to eat. But like, you know, So.
Yeah, and it was hard. Like 4 days of a convention wearing that mask.
Yeah,
that gets. Oh my god, that gets old really quick.
Yeah.
It's so annoying watching a movie. When you're watching movies and anime with a mask on, you go, it's just like. It's so weird.
Oh man. Oh, the memories. The memories.
Somehow we came out of it. It's wild.
So Francis, you're doing your strip and you're doing Archie. Is there something you want to do that you haven't done yet?
I want to write for more comics, like more comic strips.
Right.
I just started writing for the comic strip Frank and Ernest on Sunday editions, and that's been great. Once a month I submit a batch of gags, and the person who's running it is the daughter of Bob. So Bob Faves was the creator of Frank and Ernest, right. So his daughter is managing the comic strip now. But that's been great. Like it's a lot of fun because I don't know if anyone is familiar with Frank and Ernest. I know it doesn't run in any New York papers, but it's like this huge sandbox to play in where like they could be anything. They could be like animals. They could be microscopic organisms. They can just be themselves and any setting, any time period. So you can just do anything. So I love that about the comic strip, the creativity and I got a lot of ideas for that. But yeah, like if I'd love to write for other comic strips. I just like humor. Like I've always had these ideas. I like making people laugh. I like knowing that some of my ideas are making people laugh or roll their eyes. So, yeah, like I would love to do more of that. It's just finding the time to do it.
Oh yeah, we know the time constraint. Too many things to do, not enough time to do them in.
Absolutely, man. People think what I do is magical, but like I used to do a funny comic strip, Tourette's Life, about my life with Tourette's, and it just started out as a dare to myself to see if I could do it because my Tourette's was getting a little bit better, and I wanted to see if I could keep up with some regular drawing.
Right.
And it ended up becoming this strip, and it was fun, and I could put all the weird things that happened to me into a strip, and and some of the great things that happened. And it was a lot of fun, But the thought of having to try and be funny on purpose on a schedule, like, okay, sit down and be funny now. I can crack jokes all day long. I can laugh about stuff you said, and I can crack on about that for a half hour with no problem from the seat of my pants. But sit down and be funny now. Okay, make a joke. Nothing. I could create worlds out of nothing and make all kinds of aliens and tell you how their commerce works and how their spaceships work and how they zip their fly. But being funny on command is the most terrifying thing in the world to me. And dude's just over here like, oh man, I got so many ideas. It's freaking amazing to me.
Well, I mean, it's not always easy. Like, you know, just like everybody else, you get writer's block, or you know, you just can't think of anything at the moment. But you know, I don't know how everyone else handles it, but like, I have an idea book. Actually, I have it right over here. So I have the sketchbook. I just write off all my ideas in there. You can see, you probably can't even read it because of my handwriting. It's really bad. But like, there's tons of really bad ideas in here.
I keep them on my phone. It's always
that's where mines are now. But at the same time, I have so many books out here.
But you can go back in and you're like, you know what? Maybe this wasn't as bad as I thought. So, you know, you go back in and, you know, like, oh, you know, like maybe this idea, I don't even know what I'm pointing to, but maybe this idea, I could take this and, you know, do a couple of variations of it. And then eventually it'll become good.
Right.
Or I just write down all these ideas and then, you know, they're all bad. And then one of them is like, oh, this is the only one out of these, you know, 7 ideas that is good. You know, and I used to teach cartooning too, and I tell my students, I used to do a comic strip class, and I tell them, really what a comic strip is you got to read it in like 3 to 5 seconds. So it's great for you because nobody has attention spans. So 3 seconds, perfect. You just want to put a little frame around, you know, this part of your day, make it funny, but just think about like a conversation you might have had with a friend, like, and like maybe you told a joke at the end and it's funny. So, you know, but you can't put in, you know, a lot of times the kids would try to put in like 8 panels, 10 panels into a little comic strip, and you can't do that. They get to do less is more. So I you know, they'd give me something like 12 panels. I'm like, you can cut at least half of these, if not more, and you can still get the idea across. So it's like eliminate what is unnecessary. So think about Twitter. You know, you're writing for Twitter, like you have a certain number of characters and go. And you know, it's something, it's like a muscle. You got to train yourself to do it, but eventually, like if you do it enough, you know, you kind of get into this groove and you're like, oh, okay, so now this is how I write. So now I'm just going to come up with a couple of funny ideas, and then it's over. You know, you have your ideas that you like.
It's the same thing with taking a script to the page. Like, you know, there's so much that the writer wants to put in there, and like some of it has to come out, some of it I can combine, some of the panels I can combine, but you know, some things are just going to have to go for the sake of telling the story well and getting the story across.
That's how comic strip is. I mean, the comic script writing is sometimes you forget that the artist is going to do half your work. So a lot of the words you're using, you don't really need to use, because if the artist conveys what you're trying to do, then you can cut off half the words there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see a lot of, you know, when people are first starting out, especially with comic strips, they can be a little too wordy. You know, and the worst is when it's just talking heads. You know, you got these 2 little heads in the bottom and then all this dialogue on the top. You know, I have a short attention span too. I'm not going to read that. You know, when I see something like that, I'm like, you know, you got to get it short, you know, quick and right to the point. You know, you want to be able to read a comic strip in 3 to 5 seconds, and that's it. You know, and you know that you got to cut back dialogue. I struggle with that sometimes, especially when I'm doing. So I have storylines that run through Suburban Fairy Tales.
Right.
Amazing. And like I have a storyline running right now. It's just about ending, where you know, it's like the Prince and the Pauper. So you got like he switches places with another one of the pigs, switches places with a smart pig. He's a dumb pig. Switches places with him. He's like ruining this guy's a successful pig. He runs this successful company.
Yep. He ruins everything.
Yeah, he ruins everything. But, you know, it was a tough story to write because I wanted to get this story across, and I had a bunch of reveals and surprises in there.
Mm-hmm.
But, sometimes I'm sitting there, I'm like, I got to cut this, or I got to cut this panel. So, sometimes as I'm writing in my idea book, I'll come up with, 3 panels, and then I write a 4th panel. So I'm like, all right, now I need to drop the first panel or combine the first panel with the second panel, because I try to keep the comic strip at 3 panels. Sometimes, every once in a while, I'll do 4. I've been trying to keep it at 3, just because it gives you more space for the artwork and gives you, and enough space for the dialogue without it being overcrowded.
Editing's fun, man. It seems like a lost art. Like all these movies, like 3, 4, 5 hours. I'm like, nah, man. Like, Super Mario, hour 45 minutes. That's all you need, man. Don't make me 4.5 hours. Like,
or give me an intermission, for God's sake.
Exactly.
The movie theaters would love it. They would make just as much on concessions again after everybody gets back from the bathroom.
No,
that's what they used to do.
When I do my write-ups, they're really long, but sometimes they're even longer, and that's the fun part. Like reading and say, you know what? I don't really need this. I don't really want to talk about this. It's fun. Like, I don't know, man. It's like I wrote it, I did it, whatever. It's the Bible. I'm not taking it out. It's gonna stay there.
So like I like going to movies too, but like you're right. Like having these movies that are 3, like the new John Wick, like 3 hours.
If the movie like deserves to be 3, like Godfather or something like that, if it deserves to be 3 hours, then okay, sure. But if you're just making me sit there watching this guy like walk down the street, I'm like, come on, man. like I don't know.
Yeah. I have a small bladder. I need an intermission for a 3-hour movie, or I'm just going to wait for it to come out on streaming or DVD, so I can pause it to go to the bathroom when I need to.
Like if it's just 3 hours of fighting, you could take out a couple of cool kills, and I'll still enjoy the movie.
Exactly.
And have just as much fun.
Dude,
if Russian number 6 doesn't die, I don't know.
Scenes later, because we're gonna buy it anyway. It's like, ooh, they got some deleted scenes. All right, when I want to get the extra special edition.
I'm forever telling people when somebody asks me, like, and people will just say, like, how do you write script? And I'm like from scratch? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, here's what you do. And I'll give them, and I'm like, like I start out with an outline. I figure out what points I want to hit. I add the points in between to get me from where I want to go. Then I flesh it out a little bit. And then I go through and I cut a whole bunch of stuff out. And then I go through again and I cut a whole bunch of stuff out. And then I show it to my editor and usually have to cut a bunch of more stuff out. And I'm like, you can't be precious about it. And you got to get an editor that's willing to hurt your feelings. And because if he's not going to make me cry, then I don't trust him. Like I need somebody that's going to be tough and say, no, you don't need this. Or you said this twice. Or, I know this is important to you, but nobody else cares, and like let's cut that out, make more room for this part that people do care about. And I'm like, you suck. Okay, you're right.
Like when you read a prose book, one that has an editor and one that doesn't have an editor, it's a huge difference, man. It's like a world. I mean, geez.
I have had clients give me their entire 400-page prose novel and be like, this is what I want to turn into the 12-page comic book. And, it's like, it's all there. Just work from that. And I was like, no. I was like, this is what a script looks like. If you can get that down to this, or you want to pay me for a month's worth of work to read this tome and break it down into a script, like if you want to pay me for that, I'm happy to do the work. But otherwise, you do it. You're not getting that page rate for me translating this into a script. That's not what I charged you for. No.
Exactly. Oh man. All right. Let's see. I think we are at we're at that point where we need to tell people where they can find people. So Francis, go ahead. Where can they find you? Where can they check out this fantastic stuff? And especially that storyline you're working on right now, because it's pretty funny. I've been enjoying it. I've been seeing what the dumb pig has done to the smart pig's empire.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And it's going to lead right into the next story. So, let me know what you think of the next one. But you can find me on Instagram at Suburban Fairy Tales, or you can go to my website, suburbanfairytales.com.
There you go. Go check it out. He does put up a lot of his stuff on his Instagram. Let's see if I can put it up here. if my computer
you
lets me put it up. Yeah, your Instagram. That's where I've been reading everything.
Yeah, you can read it on both, either one. On Instagram, it's a little bit easier. Follow me on Instagram.
There we go. Hey,
Look, there you
somebody
are.
familiar.
Look at that sexy beast.
wait, is Rolf the punchline in that?
I am the punchline.
I shared it on and it showed up on my post.
I did it so you think I was more attractive. Well,
Exactly.
bring in the smolder, baby.
I'm gonna remove it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about the collabs is that I tell people all the time, you can just put it up now, because I know some people, especially you have a page that's all about your comics, so you don't want my face messing up your comics.
Yeah, it's only there until the show, and then after the show, it'll come down.
You know what you should do? You should make like a little comic version of Ralph, like in memoriam of the time he invaded my page.
My page got invaded by this guy named Written Ralph.
I'm gonna have to do a whole storyline about that.
Yeah. That kind of thing doesn't just happen. It has to evolve naturally.
I gotta admit, one of the best things that's happened, one of the best things Instagram has done is give you that collab option, because sometimes, especially when we do the conventions, you know this, Francis, when we do the conventions and we do the little videos so people can come check out whoever's at the convention. Sometimes I get people who go, I want the video. I'm like, and getting the video to people, it starts to get really complicated. But this collab makes it so that people can put it up on their screens. They can leave it there for a certain amount of time, and when they want to get rid of it, they can get rid of it.
Yeah.
Makes life so much easier. So much easier. Oh, man. So, yes, go check out Francis. He is everywhere. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. You can check out his website as well. I got it over here. Let me just put this back up. There it goes. And I share this, and then you can check out his website. This dude, your website is really well made here.
Thank you.
It talks about everything. It doesn't just talk about your strips, but it also talks about the Archie books.
Yeah. So on the main page, if you click on the logo there on the Suburban Fairy Tales logo, it'll take you to the main page. Should anyway. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, so then it'll that's the newest strip. That's the one that just ran today. But yeah, it's got my blog, so I'll talk about the Archie stuff or conventions or anything, any new happenings.
All right. Speaking of conventions, which are the next conventions you're hitting?
So the next one I'm doing is Eternal Con, which is July something. I forget what the date was, but I'll be there.
And that's right. We're doing the special Eternal Con show, and you're going to be on the show showcasing the fact that you're going to be at Eternal Con.
See, this is perfect segue. He's going to end up on your Instagram page again. You might as well just get a little sketch done. That way you can keep him there.
Oh, man. Francis is fantastic. We've been following him since 2014, as you've heard. And I got to admit, even back then, your booth, by 2014, your booth was already standing out. Your strips was like huge, larger than life behind you. And I think that's what caught, besides the fact that we were the table in front of you, it caught our attention.
Well, I must be doing something right then.
Exactly. All right, Fish, it's your turn. Go for it.
I am Mr. Fish Comics everywhere, MrFishComics.com, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, even set up a Twitch so you can watch my art stream there if you want to. Yeah. And right now, the most important one is the GoMrFish.com, which will take you right to the Mighty Kaw. If you want to go search it, it's KAAW because, got to spell it weird. And
it looks like your thing went up here.
Yeah, we like, what, $105 away from hitting the stretch goal, man. We're just right there, dudes. And then a whole nother book unlocks. So go out there and back it. And if not, at least give it a share and let your friends see it. Because I guarantee you, your Aunt Tilly is into some feathered barbarians. And if you don't share it, she's not going to see it. And trust me, this is what she wants. So give it to her, please.
Let her have it.
Yeah, exactly.
there you have it, folks. Go check out The Mighty Cloth. Believe me, it's a fantastic book. It's like watching Saturday morning cartoons. Just bring out the cereal, put it in front of you. A little more rated R than that, but you'll enjoy it. It'll just give you nice flashback memories. Come on.
It is fun.
Let's see. All right. What else do I got over here? Of course. Yes, our pal Dirk Manning is running down. I think he has 2 days to go on his Kickstarter for his How to Write Comics book, Right or Wrong. If you're looking for something to add to your library of being able to write comics, I completely suggest this book. Pick it up. It's like having a mentor in a book.
Cool.
It really taught me a lot of stuff that I knew, but I wasn't paying attention to, like the importance of the relationship between the writer and the artist. If you don't have a good relationship, the whole project is just gonna be hurtful.
Finding an artist that runs on the same creative tracks that you do is important. If your imaginations are running the same direction, we will get so much further together.
Exactly.
If we're going in opposite directions, it's going to be pulling teeth the entire time. Like, don't hire me for, I don't know, your book about puppies. I don't know. I don't draw a lot of puppies. But like, I don't draw a lot of really cutesy stuff. But if you want to draw like sci-fi and crazy aliens and all, I'm your dude, man. Hit me up. We will make something awesome.
It's so funny.
So I want a cute alien that the moment its mouth opens up, it turns into like effectively a xenomorph and goes inside out. But then it reverts back and has to be absolutely cute.
That I can do. If we're talking just like a full-on like chibi book of puppies playing in a meadow and learning the power of friendship, I could do it, but I'm not your guy. I'm not going to make it as awesome as somebody else would, that really digs that. But you want a puppy that comes apart and eats people? I got you.
And it's so funny until I read this book, because I knew the relationship with the art, right? But before I was thinking more of, I need to hire somebody to do my book. After I read the Right or Wrong, I was like, oh, I need a relationship with somebody who can actually draw my book the way I want them to draw my book, or give me the input so that they make it better than what I already am thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, I was just like, I just need to hire somebody. And that was my mistake in the beginning, because I was just looking for anybody who could draw my book, and then I realized that's not what you need.
Mm-hmm. I'm lucky I've got to the point now where I can start to be a little bit more particular about what jobs I take. And it's not just I have to take it to pay the bills. And so I can stick more to the clients that I know I work really well with, and I know we're on the same track, because, I've had some of those jobs where it doesn't. And it is so tough and does not come out as cool. Like, I'll make it as cool as I can. But boy, if we're on the same track and you give me the freedom to do cool stuff, I will give you an awesome book.
So here's a good question for both of you, because you both draw your books and you write your books. When you're working with somebody else, because I know you both do this, and you're writing, and now you have to depend on the artist to do the other stuff. How different is that from when you're doing it yourself? Either one of you can start.
Oh my God, Francis, you want to take?
All right, so Suburban Fairy Tales, I do that on my own. But when I'm doing stuff for Archie,
exactly.
So I'm writing the scripts. I'm not doing the artwork for Archie.
Yeah, I know.
So
that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so there are times where what I pictured in my head is not exactly what shows up on the page.
Right.
But I'm not going to say any of it was ever bad. It was just different. But it's also sometimes like, oh, that's not what I pictured. But the reader's not going to know that. It's just
not at all.
It's in your head. So you just got to kind of get over that. It's like, all right, this is the way that the artist interpreted my my paragraph or whatever that I wrote. And that's fine. And that's a collaboration, and like, exactly. I don't talk to the artist, I send it into the editor, and the editor sends it to the artist. And
wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah. We don't, there's no, I'm not saying there's not really a collaboration there. It's that they say, here's a script, or here's what we need. We need you to do, Betty and Veronica, number 350, whatever issue they're up to.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a summer story. Sometimes they'll give you something like, we want you to, recently I was doing the Crusaders, but
right.
They'll say like, we either have the Crusaders or have the Super Teens. We want a Sabrina story. They'll give you something and then come up with some synopses. I'll come up with some synopses. They pick one of the synopses, write the script. Might come back for edits, a little back and forth. Then it goes to the penciler, and I don't see it until it gets until it arrives in the mail in my house.
Right.
Until I get the finished copy. So and the same with the Frank and Ernest comics, and I've done Rhymes with Orange as well. I've written some gags for them. It's the same thing. You sketch out an idea or you write out an idea, and those are more collaborative, where they might say, oh, maybe change this, or something's not quite working. Yeah, but it's part of the job, like you can't be married to every word. Like you have to be flexible when you're collaborating with other people. It's Suburban Fairy Tales, I have full creative control over that. No one, I don't have to worry about what anyone else does on that. So Archie and the other stuff that I work on, you got to be flexible,
Yeah. And then that's the industry. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're working on something like Archie.
Yeah, and also like I try to be easy to work with. It's because if you're easy to work with, then you'll continue to get work. If you're difficult to work with, you're not going to get the work. And
that's the best tip I ever got from anybody, was be the kind of guy people want to work with.
Exactly.
And that has been the best advice.
Because I've met a lot of people. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, I always thought I was going to be really difficult if I ever had to be in that position. And now I have been in that position where I'm hiring people to do stuff for me. And it's tough because I can see it all in my head. And, like I'm having my son work on a short story that's going to be an add-on in the Green Zone trade. And, he's got it all penciled out, and his stuff is great. Every single panel is not the way I see it in my head. And I have to resist that urge to like, no, we need to turn the camera and we need to, but like what he did is solid. It's just not the way I envisioned
Exactly.
it. But it's solid. And none of these characters have ever seen print before. So it's not like, Virgil, my 8-foot lizard monster, is off model. No, these are all new characters just fleshing out more of the world that they live in. So, yeah, he's doing a good job. It's just kind of tough for me to let go. I hired a colorist on issue 2 of Green Zone to try and speed up my process, so that I could keep doing everybody else's books and keep getting my books coming out. And he has a beautiful coloring style that is, totally unique and not mine. And he would color scenes, and I'm looking at it. I was like, this is beautiful, but that old lady's freaking bathrobe was supposed to be red, not yellow. And it really eats at my brain that it's been red the whole time I drew it. Why didn't he know it was red? I drew it to be red. It's obvious to me. But, it looks fine. Nobody knows that in my brain it was supposed to be red. There's no reason to change it. It looks amazing. And he went with a very narrow color palette. So, like, each location has its own color theme. So, like, this one's all yellows and greens, and she fits in perfectly in that. The red would have stood out too much in what he did. It just still kind of gnaws at my brain that it was supposed to be red, but it doesn't matter. Nobody has ever seen this little lady before, and I can make it red in the next book if I want to. She can have 2 bathrobes.
And that's collaborating. That's having a partnership. That's also letting go of things sometimes, because sometimes, who knows, the way they drew it maybe is better than than you were thinking.
He did some stuff that was really amazing that I wouldn't have been brave enough to do, that I really love and I'm going to continue using. So like, it's been a good process. It's just as I'm used to doing everything myself, from pencils to letters to, you give me a script, I give you a finished book. It's taken some getting used to learn to share my toys and let other people play their way, and that it's okay if they play a little differently than I play. And, you know, but it's been cool. I'm looking to do more of it. There's whole stories that I want to farm out to other artists that just have funnier styles in mind. Like I've got a whole story in Green Zone about a mom and stepdad and kids that get abducted by criminals and go on a, you know, road chase across the country.
Wow.
That would be much more funny if like Seth DeMoose was drawing it than me. Like, you know, it doesn't need to be realistic. It needs to be funny.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna hire somebody to do that.
Exactly. All right, guys. This is where we throw a couple of Kickstarters up there for you guys to go check out. Of course, we already know that you should be checking out the Mighty Caw. Of course, with that, you should check out our pal from Quest, Scott Harris, because you know, they're working on something right now. I think you can say it better, Fish. Go ahead.
Oh, we have got this amazing crossover pinup between us, and there's still 43 hours left to get in on Caw, and then you've got like 16 days to get in on Quest. I backed Quest as soon as I found out about it. That was a no-brainer.
I gotta admit, when he was talking to us here on Monday, as soon as he pulled out that module, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out how to get this thing.
I absolutely jumped on board. And if you back it at the digital level on both of our books, you'll get a high-res digital copy of the crossover pinup that I did between Caw and his character Vess. And if you back at the physical, you'll get a physical print of it. And it's cool. It's an awesome looking print.
Look at it. Oh,
taking on an army of monsters, fixing to lay waste and take names. It's I love it.
There you go, folks. Go do that. Believe me, especially if you like D&D, you want to pick up Quest, you know, and just do yourself a favor, pick both of them up and get this beautiful little piece right here. And of course, as well, we have our pal Robert Powers with his Cataclysm, which is fantastical. If you love Pinguino's Revenge, you are definitely going to love Cataclysm. It just screams 90s cartoons, 90s comics. It does, man. You want to pick this up, folks.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And with that, you got our pal from Corrupt Moon, Nick Hughes. He's doing his Kickstarter. He's at 1,709. He's trying to reach 6,000. He has 21 backers, 13 days to go. Come on, 13 days is more than enough time to get him to where he needs to go. Go support this, folks. And of course, Phil Russert has his book, Tragedy. And it'll be a tragedy if you don't pick up the 5th issue of Tragedy. So go do that. Go pick up Tragedy. He's at 5,597. He's already funded. But come on, let's get him to 6,000, 7,000. Every little bit helps, folks. And all these people, like I said, nobody's getting rich off of Kickstarters. They're all going to put their money right back into the book. Mm-hmm. And I think that is everybody. I'll show off Caw one more time just to make sure that you guys have seen it. Go support. The more you support independents and Kickstarters, the better it is for the whole industry in general. It really improves stuff if there's competition.
Absolutely.
Tony, anything with you?
Nope.
Nope. I'm good.
I'm good.
See, this is how you don't be a salesman. I should have another a Tuesday type up next Tuesday. So working on the stuff. I'm almost caught up with all my reading. So I should have something. I'll talk about the free comic book days. The free comic book day books I read. I was right. Yeah, and everything else. So tune in Tuesday.
Tune in Tuesday for Tony's write up.
Awesome.
See, that's a salesman.
Mr. Nat, what do you got?
All right, so if you could please, I'm getting a little bit of lag on one sound, so let's swap over to here. But if you could be so kind.
What am I doing?
I'm sending you a screen.
Oh, you sent it to me. Oh, there you go. I can't see it. It's on the bottom. Did it disappear?
Yeah, you clicked it off.
No, I put add to stream. Share it again, bro. Share it again.
All right, let's try this. there we go. So we got our lovely folks here at Strangers Comics. Tales of a Sunday, a nice collection, good world building, interesting story. If you like that sort of stuff, this might be for you. And if you're into card games, let me suggest to you Fabled Saga. We have once again of another stretch goal. And if we can go even further.
Okay, I thought it was my computer.
No.
Hello? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back
Go for
now.
it.
Okay, where did I leave off?
Fable.
Stretch goal.
Yeah, we broke another one. We're getting closer to the next one. And so, yeah, let's make them make another stretch goal just for this campaign again. So
I gotta admit, if you love beautiful art and you love card games, this is the way to go. And the more stretch goals they actually get to, the more stuff you're gonna get. And as you can say, this thing is way more than funded. And the art on it is just amazing. We know a couple of the artists, and we've covered them here on the show, at the conventions as well. You guys, this art is just beautiful.
Yeah,
That is really something.
That's pretty much it, because all of those Kickstarters are done.
So, folks, this weekend is Cosmic Con. It's in Queens. Go check it out. Next weekend, we have Brooklyn Comic Con and 5 Points Festival, and we will be at both of them. So check us out next week. And we have a lot of friends who are going to be at both conventions, and we have a lot of stuff we're going to be bringing to you. So wait till you see the coverage for Brooklyn Comic Con and 5 Point Festival. And I think that's it, folk. So we get to the end of the show. Make sure you guys check out Francis Bonnet, our friend Fish Lee, Tony's write-ups, Nat doing his thing, and of course,